Quiet, please. Now, we ain't going to August a card, Ar mí mága jasach chat and test about this half of it's very special to have three ladies here, all working in kind of a similar vein, and yet all remarkably different. And I think the fact that they have come together in a way such as they have is quite remarkable and makes for a wonderfully strong and powerful exhibition. It's a real pleasure to have them all back here. They're all old friends and all wonderful artists. And it's also a pleasure, I have to say, to open the exhibition another old friend and a wonderful artist in her own way, Geraldine Mills, a very distinguished published poet who has come to open the exhibition. So would you welcome Geraldine, please?
Thanks very much, Tom, and it's a privilege and a great delight for me to be here this evening in the gorgeous sunshine to open this exhibition. Tom, I think before I start, I came in yesterday and Tom and Dean were busy arranging the paintings, and Joan was over here and Charlotte was over here and Leah was over here, and I come in today and it's all been rearranged. So huge work has gone into the finding of the right place for each painting, and I think that's a great talent in itself. So it's absolutely wonderful to come in to see that. I want to thank Leah and Joan and Charlotte as well for bringing me on board here with part of your work. And not having been blessed with the talent of being an artist, the next best thing for me is to be in their company, and company of such calibre, and to absorb almost by osmosis the wonder of what they create. I think this is an exceptional exhibition, and I think it's an inspired choice to bring these three together, these three artists. And I think if troikas like this were in the world, then we wouldn't have all the problems that we have there. A wonderful troika. When you're in the presence of true artists, it is clear they become the medium through which the inspiration flows. Their very essence is brought to bear on the whole work. They don't have to explain or make it easy for us, and they call upon us to look at the image and bring us to another place within ourselves. In Elements of Place, we're called to witness their interpretation of Connemara, of the Barna Woods, or of the Corrib. And though the work is informed by their own experience of the local, the quality of it ensures that it could happily take its place on the universal stage. Looking at Leah's work first, Leah's originally from Dublin but now lives in Upgerard. She graduated from Dún Laoghaire College in 1995 and is a member of Engage Arts and Visual Arts. Her paintings have been commissioned in all sorts of places throughout Ireland, and they hang on the walls of Port Planola, the OPW, the National Concert Hall, the Department of the Taoiseach, and many, many more. It's a great gift to be able to take a brush and translate what's inside you onto canvas so that others can be transformed by it. And this is what Leah does. Living in a landscape such as Connemara, it's a courageous thing to take it on, because it's so familiar to everyone and everyone expects to see it just as they have experienced it themselves. But she, through her process, she pulls off something quite unique. And when I talk about process, it's always fascinating for me to see and try and understand what the process of the artist is. How do they actually do it, starting with a blank canvas and coming up with such wonderful work. And I'm reminded of a story by, that's told about, I think it's W.C. Fields, who was a wonderful juggler, and someone came to interview him and to ask him how he actually did it. And the whole thing sort of dismantled him because it took the mystery out of how he did it. He didn't know how he did it, but he did it anyway, and he never juggled again. So I'm always very careful about asking the artists how they come about their process. But I need just a little bit of how Leah managed to create such mystery in her work. And she explained to me about the layering process, that she starts with a layer and then moves on to another painting and then continues that until she comes to the final point. And you can see from the paintings how deftly she does that. especially there's some smaller pieces, they're like little poems, Land Meets Sea or Linear Landscape, and then the larger canvases of Connemara, which are bigger works. And she takes us from the ordinary world of solid matter right into the essence of place. And what she does so superbly is that she directs us to the edge and challenges us to pull back the veil of another world so that we can look at it differently. There's also a wonderful stillness in her work, a sense of the spirit of the place, and I think that's where her great power is. And by continuing to underlay each painting and then move to the next, it means that there is a great consanguinity between one painting and the next, and the viewer gets a sense of that in the way they harmonise with one another. And it's absolutely wonderful work. Joan Hogan is a true Galwegian and a graduate of GMIT. And she's no a stranger to exhibitions either, and has had her work exhibited in Kenny's, the RHA, in Austria, in the Galleria Scheffer, White's Gallery in Wexford, Galway City Hall, and lots others. Joan was born where the world looks out onto Galway Bay and beyond. So the sea was the first sound that Joan heard before her birth eye even opened to its pulse. So it's not surprising that she has been drawn to the life force of the sea. Because it's in her ear, in her eye, she finds a way to capture its power, its energos on canvas, and lifts out of the deep to show it to us. There are many paintings here today, like these wonderful ones here, that demonstrate that power of the sea that she brings to her work. But she's also there's a new departure in her work, for trees have seeded themselves into the edge of waterways, have sprouted, and have grown up to offer a whole new range of creative possibilities. Another thing about Joan's work is she has the uncanny ability of painting into her work a sense of turmoil, and she always seems to get in advance what's going on in the world. And I've noticed in other work she might be painting something that she's not quite sure of what's going on, but something universal or something in the world will come up and the painting just fits in with that turmoil. And especially the two larger paintings over there with the red and the vibrancy and the fire, it almost conjures up the turmoil that's going on with us at the moment. So she's not afraid to use these wonderful strong colours, uses them with great clarity, with great deftness, but she balances before she hands it over to the viewer. And then she lets the painting continue its life in the eye of the beholder. And through her work, she brings us to the edge of ourselves. And last but not least, Charlotte was also born in Galway, I think, yes, and also graduated from GMIT. She's a founder member of Grad Art, and Charlotte's work is no stranger to Kenny's, because this will be her third exhibition, am I right? Did you have two before this? Yeah. And what speaks to me in her work is the way she gets to the core of a lived life. There's a sensed understanding of the world around her, whether it's her walks in Rushing Bay or Barna Woods. And it's very clear that she has absorbed place into her very veins, because it just seems to pour out onto the brush as she paints. I love what Charlotte does, the way she holds a contract between dark and light. And that was very evident in her last paintings, and it's developed even further here, where I think the light is coming a little bit stronger into the paintings. Though we have the bog ones, and we see the dark underbelly of the earth, but there's always a little bit of light. Very evident in that wonderful one there is a quiet light that it's called, which I think is absolutely magnificent, because the light is just coming through the dark, so that she brings an alchemy to her painting, that the bare canvas is transmuted into gold, and I think that's a perfect example of that. I think the exhibition is very well named. I think Joan had a hand in that, because we have the word element in all its definitions. It's clear that each artist is inner element, working out of the core of herself. Then there's the components or elements of place that are intrinsic to each artist, whether it's bog, whether it's lichen, whether it's tree, whether it's fence. Then there's the point at which they've brought their work down to the elemental, where they break it down where it can go no further, and it's as close to the artist's periodic table as I think we can get. It's right down there in the element. Then there's sort of Aristotle's view of the universe, where we have the four elements. We have earth, fire, water, air, And the air, the element of air, you can almost breathe in Leah's work. Then that's contrapuntal to the water that surges in Joan's work, or the depth of the earth that is in Charlotte's. And then to bring them all together, there's the fire that they have of their own vision, and that ignites the whole exhibition. So I think that brings the elements very, very well together. I salute the courage of these artists. I think they turn up for work every day with nothing, and they create as they go along. Artists of this breadth of vision work in the mystery, seldom ever knowing where they're going, but trust that they will get there, and they find the moment when to let that go. If anyone was following the television program on the best or most popular painting in Ireland, you will see that people went back very much to paintings that have endured throughout time and really appreciated and loved the ones that have endured. Because for people, they go back to art again because painting and art has the ability to sort of draw that isolation out of us and bring us together. And at the end of the day, I think art endures, and I certainly think this art will endure for a long time. As I said, it's an inspired choice to bring the three artists together. They stand strongly on their own merit, but the synergy of the work together is a tour de force. So I want to congratulate Tom, Dean, for all the work they have done. I think work like this is bred to the hungry spirits of our time. So I just want to thank Charlotte, Leah, and Joan for such stunning work and for bringing it to us this evening. And so with that, it is my great delight to pronounce this exhibition officially open.
That's the reason why we nearly always ask a poet to open this. They get in right in under the skin, behind the canvas and everything. That was just a joy and absolutely beautifully articulated. Just as is the exhibition. So thank you for your attention, ladies and gentlemen. Just continue to enjoy the exhibition. Karamila Mahaki.
Yes.